Right now, at this exact second, you feel like you are glitching. You are walking through your life, but the rendering feels off. The textures of your reality, your job, your relationships, your daily routine are failing to load. You feel a profound, heavy dissociation, like you are a stranger piloting a body that no longer belongs to you. You might be panicking. You might think you are having a mental breakdown, or that you are slipping into a depression. You are not. What you are experiencing is not a malfunction. It is a retrocausal overwrite. Your future self, the optimized, highest potential version of you existing in a non-linear time frame, has just initiated a forced update on your current reality. In computer science terms, you have hit the blue screen of death. But in the physics of consciousness, this is not the end. It is the reboot. You are not broken, you are buffering. We need to define the mechanics of this immediately, because the confusion you are feeling is a resource drain. In quantum physics, there is a phenomenon known as John Wheeler's delayed choice experiment. It proves something that shatters our linear understanding of time. The choice made by an observer in the present determines the path a particle took in the past. The destination creates the journey. The future determines history. Apply this to your life right now. You have been trying to build your future from the past brick by brick, linear step by linear step. That process has stopped. Why? Because the future self, the version of you that has already won, has looked back at you. That observation has locked onto your timeline. And because that future self is running on a completely different operating system than your current reality, it is overwriting your past and your present to ensure its own existence. The chaos you feel is not regression. It is data deletion. Your system is frantically uninstalling legacy software, old habits, old relationships, old thought patterns that are incompatible with the new version of you that is trying to download. You cannot run a quantum operating system on MS-DOS hardware. The crash you are living through is the necessary destruction of the old interface. Think about a massive software update on your phone. What happens? The screen goes black. The functions stop working. You can't make calls. You can't open apps. The device becomes a useless brick of glass and metal. If you didn't know an update was happening, you would think the phone was dead. You would try to mash the buttons. You would try to force it to work. That is what you are doing with your life right now. You are trying to force a system that is in the middle of a critical firmware rewrite to perform old tasks. And because it won't, you think you are failing. You are not failing. You are under construction. Let's look at the data. We need to validate the specific error codes you are seeing because they are distinct and they are universal to this specific frequency shift. You are tired. Deeply, unreasonably tired. You sleep for 8 hours, but you wake up feeling like you've been running simulations all night. You drink coffee, but the fog doesn't lift. This isn't physical exhaustion. This is RAM latency. Your biological computer is using 99% of its processing power to render a new timeline. You have no available bandwidth for the trivialities of the 3D world. Small tasks feel like climbing mountains because your energy is not here. It is being siphoned off to build the architecture of your future. You are experiencing identity collapse. You look in the mirror, and for a split second, you don't recognize the face looking back. It feels like a graphics render that hasn't finished loading. You look at your friends, people you have loved for years, and you feel nothing. Not anger, not animosity, just zero data. It's like clicking on a file folder and finding it empty. The emotional resonance is gone. You feel guilty about this. You think you are becoming cold. You aren't. You are just realizing that those relationships were scripted for the old version of you. That version has been archived. The new you has no code written for these interactions yet. You are walking into rooms and forgetting why you are there. This isn't early onset memory loss. This is a timeline glitch. Your consciousness is flickering between two stations, the dying signal of your past and the incoming signal of your future. When you forget why you walked into the kitchen, it's because for a microsecond, your consciousness was synced to a timeline where you were doing something else entirely. You are literally in two places at once, and your brain is struggling to integrate the data streams. There is a specific pressure, a physical sensation. Scan your body right now. You've likely felt it this week. A tightness behind the eyes. A ringing in the ears that isn't tinnitus. It's a high-pitched, steady frequency. A sudden heat in the spine. This is the hardware struggling to conduct a higher voltage than it was rated for. You are a 110-volt appliance suddenly plugged into a 220-volt socket. The heat is the resistance of your old cellular structure, trying to accommodate the new light codes. You feel like you are screaming in a soundproof room. You try to explain this to people, your partner, your family, and they look at you with blank stares. They offer you linear solutions. They tell you to take a vacation. They tell you to see a therapist. They tell you to get organized. They don't understand that you cannot organize a house that is burning down. And this isolation is by design. You are being placed in a quarantine protocol. The system is isolating you to prevent cross-contamination. If you were surrounded by the noise of the collective right now, the download would fail. The silence is necessary for the installation. Your future self just triggered the frequency shift. The old code is being deleted. Everything changes. This is the diagnosis. You are in the void between two worlds. The old world, the one where you had to struggle, force, and manipulate reality to get what you wanted, is dead. It has been deleted. But the new world, the one where you are the architect, where reality bends to your command, hasn't fully rendered yet. You are standing in the static. The mistake you are making, the source of all your suffering right now, is that you are trying to fix the static. You are treating this transition like a problem to be solved. You are trying to use your old tools to repair the breakdown. You are trying to think your way out of it. You are trying to work your way out of it. Stop, you cannot fix a system that is designed to crash. Imagine you are a pilot. You have spent your whole life flying a propeller plane. You know every gauge, every lever. You know how it shakes when it hits turbulence. Suddenly, mid-flight, the propeller falls off. The wings dissolve. The cockpit vanishes. You are falling. You are panicking. You are reaching for levers that are no longer there. You are screaming that the plane is broken. But what you don't see, because you are too busy looking at the debris, is that a jet engine is forming around you. You are being upgraded from a biplane to a starship. But for the starship to form, the biplane must cease to exist. You cannot have both. You cannot keep the comfort of the propeller and gain the speed of the jet. The retrocausal overwrite is ruthless. It does not care about your comfort. It cares about your trajectory. It does not care if you like your current job. It cares if that job is compatible with your mission. If it's not, it will be removed. It does not care if you are attached to a specific relationship. If that person cannot hold the frequency of where you are going, they will be phased out. This feels cruel. It feels like loss. But it is actually efficiency. Your future self is an optimization algorithm. It looks at your life and asks one question: does this file support the final render? If the answer is no, it initiates the delete command. You have been fighting this deletion. You have been grasping at the things falling away, trying to pull them back into your orbit. You are wasting energy trying to resurrect dead timelines. The fatigue you feel is the friction of your resistance. You are dragging a corpse and wondering why you can't run. If you have felt this system incompatibility this week, like you don't fit in your own skin, like the world has turned gray and pixelated around you, hit like on this video. Do it not for the algorithm, but as a digital signal to your own subconscious. By interacting, you are validating the glitch. You are telling your internal operating system, I see the update, I accept the bandwidth drain, I am ready for the overwrite. We are going to stop fighting the crash. We are going to stop trying to repair the old vehicle. Instead, we are going to learn how to facilitate the download. We are going to look at the mechanics of this retrocausal loop, not with fear, but with the cold clinical precision of an engineer. You are not a victim of this shift. You are the hardware it selected. You need to understand that this data wipe is the most significant indicator of success you have ever experienced. When a computer needs to install a massive new program, what is the first thing it does? It clears the cache, it frees up space, it stops running background applications. The emptiness you feel is not a void, it is capacity. You are being hollowed out so you can be filled with something else, something exponentially more powerful, something that requires terabytes of space that you simply didn't have yesterday. So, Let the old files corrupt. Let the old identity buffer and freeze. Let the screen go black. Do not touch the keyboard. Do not try to reboot manually. Let the system run its course. Because what comes online when the screen lights up again is not just a better version of you. It is a completely different species of creator. The update has started. Now let's look at the source code. We need to strip away the emotion for a moment and look at the mechanics. You are drowning in confusion because you are trying to solve a physics problem with psychology. You think you are broken. You think you are depressed. You are not. You are experiencing a temporal anomaly. To understand why your reality is dissolving, we have to look at the architecture of time itself. Specifically, we need to look at John Wheeler's delayed choice experiment. This is not philosophy. This is hard quantum physics. Here is the setup. A photon, a particle of light, travels through an interferometer. It has to make a choice. Does it behave like a wave, taking two paths at once? Or does it behave like a particle taking one single defined path? Common sense tells us the photon decides how to travel at the moment it starts its journey. Cause leads to effect. Past leads to future. But Wheeler discovered something terrifying. The photon does not decide its path at the beginning. It decides its path at the end, depending on how it is measured. If the scientist chooses to measure it as a particle at the destination, the photon looks back in time and decides it traveled as a particle the entire journey. If the scientist measures it as a wave, the photon retroactively changes its history to have traveled as a wave. Read that again. The choice made in the present rewrites the history of the past. The destination determines the journey. This is retrocausality explained. And it is exactly what is happening to your nervous system right now. You are not the observer in this experiment. You are the photon. Your future self, the version of you that has already achieved the optimization, the wealth, the awakening, is the observer. That future self has finally locked onto a specific timeline. It has measured the outcome. Because the destination is now fixed in the future, the path leading up to it must change. But here is the glitch. The path you were on, the career you built, the relationships you tolerated, the routine you memorized, cannot lead to that new destination. It is mathematically impossible. The data doesn't link up. So, what does the universe do? It initiates a retrocausal overwrite. The future injects code into the present to ensure its own existence. This is not a gentle nudge. This is a hostile takeover of your current reality. To get you from where you were to where you are going, the system cannot just patch the old file. The architecture is too different. It has to format the drive. This explains the chaos, the sudden entropy, the reason why your life feels like a house of cards that someone just kicked over. You are not collapsing. You are being corrected. The breakdown you are fighting is the mechanism of your arrival. Let's define this phenomena. The retrocausal overwrite is a localized timeline edit. It has three specific signatures that I know you are feeling right now. First, it destroys stability. The comfort zone is simply a cached file of old behaviors. When the overwrite begins, stability is the first thing to be deleted. You lose the job. The landlord sells the house. The reliable contract falls through. This isn't bad luck. It is the system removing the variables that anchor you to the defunct timeline. Second, it creates amnesia. This is the one that scares you the most. You've been silently carrying this fear that you are losing your mind. You sit down to do work that used to light you up, and you feel nothing. Zero signal. You look at old friends and feel like you're watching strangers. You try to recall your passion, and it feels like trying to remember a dream from 10 years ago. This is not depression. This is cache clearing. The emotional resonance you had with your old life was stored in your RAM. The retrocausal overwrite has wiped that RAM to make space for the new instruction set. You don't care about those things anymore because the version of you that cared has been deleted. Third, it creates hyper-focus on the nonsensical. Suddenly, you are obsessed with a new topic, a new place, or a specific strange urge that makes no logical sense for your current career. You are an accountant who suddenly needs to understand soil regeneration. You are a nurse who suddenly needs to study graphic design. You fight this. You call it a distraction. It is not a distraction. It is the new script downloading. The future self is planting the assets you will need 3 years from now. But you are fighting the process. I watch you try to handle this, and I see 2 specific failure modes, 2 ways you are trying to fix the glitch that are actually making the crash worse. The first failure mode is psychological excavation. You are obsessed with finding the root cause in your past. You ask, why is my life falling apart? You go to therapy to dig up childhood trauma. You journal for hours about your blocks. Stop. You are analyzing corrupted data. You are trying to find the error in a file that is currently being overwritten. The past you are analyzing effectively no longer exists. It is being rewritten by the future observation. Digging into your past right now is like trying to recover a Word document while the computer is formatting the hard drive. It is a waste of processing power. The second failure mode is the force restart. This is where you try to push through the fatigue with willpower. You drink more coffee, you set more alarms, you try to force the old routine to work. I just need to grind harder. You cannot grind through this. You have no RAM available. Your system is utilizing 99% of its resources to render the new timeline. That deep, heavy exhaustion you feel, that bone-deep tiredness that sleep doesn't touch, that is render latency. Your energy is being diverted to build the bridge to the future. If you try to run high-intensity applications on top of that, you will crash the kernel, you will burn out. You need to understand the new paradigm. We have been taught that time is linear. We believe we are the bricklayers, placing one brick at a time, day by day, to build the house of the future. We think we are in control of the construction. That is the Newtonian model. It is outdated. The quantum model is a loop. You are not building the house is already built. The future you is standing in the doorway, activating a giant magnet. You are the iron filings being dragged backward through the dirt to stick to the magnet. The resistance you feel, the pain, the friction, the heat, is not because you are failing to build. It is because you are digging your heels in while you are being pulled. You are not the programmer writing the code. You are the hardware receiving the download. Shift your identity. Stop acting like the architect who has lost his blueprints. Start acting like the server that is receiving a massive update. When the server updates, it goes offline. It doesn't serve traffic. It doesn't run old apps. It sits in a dark, cool room and lets the new data overwrite the old zeros and ones. The glitch is the point. The chaos is the evidence. The fact that nothing makes sense anymore is the proof that the new logic is taking over. Stop trying to repair the version of you that is being uninstalled. Let it crash. The sooner it crashes, the sooner the new interface loads. This brings us to the architecture of the shift. You need to dismantle the way you perceive time right now. You are operating under a linear driver delusion. You believe you are at point A, pushing with all your might to get to point B. You think the sweat, the anxiety, and the planning are the fuel that creates the future. That is why you are exhausted. You are pushing against physics. The paradigm shift is this. The effect precedes the cause. In the quantum framework of your life, the result has already happened. The future you, the fully optimized, upgraded version, already exists. It is not a possibility. It is a compiled file. It is sitting on the server, waiting to be rendered. Stop thinking you are pushing a boulder up a hill. Start realizing you are being pulled by a giant magnet. The resistance you feel, that crushing weight in your chest, the confusion, the sudden stops, is not failure. It is karma drag. It is the friction caused by you trying to steer the ship when the autopilot has already locked onto the destination. The future self is dragging you backwards through time to meet it. This changes everything about how you operate. Consider your intuition. You've been told it's a gut feeling, a guess. That is incorrect. In a retrocausal system, intuition is not a prediction. Intuition is memory. It is a data packet sent from the future to the present. When you get that sudden, inexplicable urge to turn left, or to call that specific person, or to quit that secure job, you are not guessing. You are accessing a read-only file from the timeline where you already succeeded. Your future self is dropping breadcrumbs in the code. This explains the loss. You've been looking at your life falling apart and calling it a tragedy. You've been mourning the friends who stopped calling. You've been panicked about the career path that suddenly feels like chewing on dry cardboard. Flip the logic. If the future self is overwriting the system, everything that cannot support that new frequency must go. Those relationships, that job, that old routine, they are legacy software. You are trying to run a high-definition holographic operating system on a DOS processor. It cannot handle the throughput. The system isn't breaking, it is purging incompatible drivers. When a relationship turns cold overnight, do not try to fix it. That is like trying to jam a floppy disk into a USB port. It doesn't fit because the architecture has evolved. Let that sink in. The things you are clinging to are the very things blocking the download. This demands a total methodological shift. Your old operating system was built on predict and control. You analyze the past, project a future, and micromanage the steps. That is low bandwidth behavior. That is an analog signal in a digital world. Your new operating system is render and receive. You do not need to build the path. The path is already computed. Your only job is to clear the cache so the map can load. You need to move from high-anxiety striving to mechanical calm. Think of yourself not as the programmer, but as the receiver node. You are a high-bandwidth antenna. If the signal is fuzzy, you don't scream at the radio station. You tune the receiver. You stop the static. You align the dish. The anxiety you feel is simply signal noise. It's you trying to run two programs at once, the old identity and the future self. They are conflicting. They are eating up your RAM. You must stop doing and start hosting. You are the hardware. The future self is the software. When you surrender to this, the panic vanishes. You realize that the glitch wasn't an error code. It was the progress bar. The chaos wasn't destruction. It was the installation wizard unpacking the files. You are not lost. You are just rebooting. And the version of you that comes back online? It doesn't play by the old rules of time. It doesn't hope for the future, it remembers it. We are now moving from the theoretical architecture into the diagnostic phase. We need to look at the logs. You need evidence. You need to know without a shadow of a doubt that this chaos is engineered and not accidental. You need to know that you are not losing your mind. You are simply undergoing a format change. When a computer system updates its operating system, there are specific predictable indicators of that process. The screen freezes. The fan spins up to maximum velocity. Access to files is temporarily denied. If you didn't know a software update was happening, you would think the machine was broken. You would panic. You would try to force a reboot. But because you understand the mechanics, you wait. You let the progress bar fill. Your life is showing you the exact same progress bar right now. But because you lack the manual, you are misinterpreting the data. You are calling it depression. You are calling it anxiety. You are calling it bad luck. Let's correct the syntax. Here are the 3 undeniable signs that the retrocausal overwrite is currently active in your biology. These are not symptoms of failure. They are symptoms of installation. Sign number 1, the data wipe, also known as identity amnesia. This is the most terrifying phase for the ego. It is the sudden, inexplicable deletion of emotional data regarding things you used to love. I am talking about a total loss of resonance with your own history. Think of your brain as a hard drive. For years you have stored files in specific folders. A folder for career ambition, a folder for social circle, a folder for hobbies. You could double-click these folders and feel something. Excitement, stress, joy, attachment. Then you woke up this Tuesday. You walked into your office, or you sat down at your art desk, or you looked at the person sleeping next to you, and you clicked the folder. But the file didn't open. It was corrupt, 0 kilobytes. You didn't feel angry. You didn't feel sad. You felt blank. You felt a terrifying neutrality. You've been silently carrying this specific feeling for weeks. You're in the middle of a conversation with a friend you have known for a decade, and suddenly you feel like you are watching a stranger talk. You know you should care about their drama. You remember that the old you would have engaged, offered advice, laughed. But the new you is buffering. You are searching for the script, but the script has been deleted. You feel like an actor who walked onto the wrong set. The props look familiar, but the lines don't make sense anymore. The psychological diagnosis for this is dissociation or anhedonia, but the engineering diagnosis is cache clearing. Your future self, The optimized file cannot overwrite the current version if the disk space is full. To install the new directive, the system must delete the old dependencies. You are losing interest in your career not because you are lazy, but because that career path does not exist in the timeline you are shifting into. The passion is gone because the energy required to maintain that timeline has been cut. You are experiencing a 404 error, passion not found. This is a safety mechanism. If you still loved the old life, you would fight to stay there. The system induces apathy to make the transition possible. It is detaching your grip from the dock so the current can pull you out to sea. Do not force the feeling back. Do not try to manually corrupt the data again just to feel normal. If the file is empty, let it be empty. The emptiness is the room required for the new code. If you have experienced this specific amnesia regarding your own life goals recently, if you have looked at your life and felt like it belonged to someone else, comment "Overwrite initiated" below. Signal to the algorithm and to yourself that you accept the deletion. Sign number 2. The timeline bleed. This manifests as what spiritual communities call synchronicities, but we are going to look at this through the lens of simulation theory. We are talking about the repetition of numerical patterns 11, 11, 444, 333, or hearing a specific obscure phrase 3 times in 1 hour. Most people look at a clock, see 11:11, and think, the angels are saying hello. That is a poetic interpretation. It is comforting, but it is low resolution. In high-performance computing, when you are rendering 2 different video files at the same time, or when you are merging 2 complex databases, you often get artifacts. These are glitches in the display, pixels that repeat, textures that overlap. It happens because the GPU is processing 2 realities simultaneously, and for a microsecond, the data bleeds through. Seeing 11:11 is not a greeting card. It is a system status confirmation. It is a render artifact. It signifies that the barrier between your current timeline, the past, and your future timeline, the overwrite, is thinning. You are seeing the raw code of the simulation peeking through the user interface. Think of it like this. You are watching a movie, and the film reel gets stuck for a split second. You see the frame stutter. That stutter tells you that you are watching a projection, not reality. When you see these numbers, it is the universe revealing its mathematical structure. It is proof that the randomness of your life is actually a highly structured program. The retrocausal signal is so strong that it is ordering the chaotic data of your environment into precise, repeating integers. You might have noticed this escalating. You aren't just seeing numbers on a clock. You are thinking about a specific person, and they call you 5 seconds later. You think about a specific book, and it falls off a shelf. This is latency reduction. The time gap between the command, your thought, and the execution, the reality, is shrinking. The buffer is gone. You are operating in real time with the future self. Do not worship the signs. You don't worship the progress bar when you download a file. You just acknowledge it means the connection is stable. Treat these numbers as a ping test. 11:11 means connection valid, upload speed optimal. Acknowledge it and keep working. Sign number 3, the hardware rejection. This is the most physically painful sign and the one most people try to medicate away. This is sudden, inexplicable physical intolerance. You might be experiencing sudden allergies to foods you've eaten your whole life. You drink 1 glass of alcohol, and the next day you feel like you've been poisoned for a week. You walk into a shopping mall or a crowded office, and you feel a wave of physical exhaustion so heavy it feels like gravity doubled. You get headaches that sit right behind the eyes, specifically where the optic nerves process visual data. This is resonance mismatch. Everything is frequency. Your body is hardware. Your consciousness is the software. You are currently upgrading the software to a higher frequency, a more complex, faster-moving operating system. But your body and the environment you are in is still the old hardware. Think of it like trying to run the newest, most demanding 3D gaming engine on a laptop from 1995. What happens? The laptop overheats, the circuits fry. It shuts down to protect itself. Your future self is vibrating at a rate of high efficiency. When you try to force that new frequency into an environment that is dense, slow, and low voltage, like a toxic workplace, a gossiping friend group, or a diet of processed heavy fuel. The friction creates heat. That heat is inflammation. That heat is exhaustion. The intolerance you feel is your body rejecting the incompatible drivers. Alcohol lowers your system's frequency. It creates static. In the past, your baseline frequency was low enough that the static didn't matter. Now, because you are tuning into a high-fidelity signal, even a little bit of static destroys the connection. You have become a precision instrument. Precision instruments are sensitive. They require clean rooms. You are not getting weaker. You are becoming finer. A sledgehammer can take a beating and sit in the mud. A microscope cannot. You are evolving from a sledgehammer into a microscope. The hardware rejection also applies to people. You may have noticed that being around certain individuals, even people you love, physically drains your battery in minutes. You feel a tightness in your chest. Your throat closes up. This isn't judgment. It's physics. It is destructive interference. Their wave pattern and your new wave pattern are out of phase. When waves are out of phase, they cancel each other out. You are literally being zeroed out by the environment. The solution is not to toughen up. The solution is to isolate and update. When a server is undergoing critical maintenance, it is taken offline. You must give yourself permission to go offline. If your body rejects the food, stop eating it. If your system rejects the person, limit the bandwidth you give them. You cannot run the new simulation on the old hardware. Listen to the rejection. It is protecting the upgrade. Theory is useless without installation. We have analyzed the mechanics of the retrocausal overwrite. We have identified the glitch. Now, we must execute the code. You are currently operating on a corrupted file system. Your RAM is clogged with the data of a timeline that no longer exists. We are going to manually initiate the update. This is not meditation. This is a system maintenance protocol. We are not relaxing. We are powering down the hardware to install a new operating system. Sit up straight, spine vertical. Your spine is the primary antenna. If it is slumped, the signal is compressed. Close your eyes. Phase 1. System pause, terminating background processes. Your brain is currently overheating. You have too many tabs open. The worry tab, the planning tab, the regret tab. These are draining your processing power. We are going to force quit these applications right now. Take a deep breath in through the nose, hold it at the top. This is the suspension of data flow. Exhale. As you exhale, visualize a command prompt on the screen of your mind. Type, shut down ST00. Feel the cooling fans of your mind spin down. The hum of anxiety, silence it. The static of the to-do list, cut the power. You are not a person right now. You are biological hardware sitting in a chair. You are a server rack in standby mode. Scan your chassis. Scan the body. Where is the heat? You've been holding a specific tension in your jaw for years. That is a loop of defensive code. Drop the jaw, scan the shoulders. They are tight because you are trying to carry the timeline. That is not your job. The timeline carries you. Drop the shoulders. Scan the stomach. That is fear of the unknown. It is a firewall blocking the update. Deactivate it. Feel your body turning into cool, heavy metal. Chrome steel, you are heavy, solid. You are not generating output. You are simply idling. Wait in the black screen. If a thought pops up, what about dinner? What about that email? Identify it as a pop-up ad. Do not click it, close the window, return to the black screen. Zero data, zero processing, just the hum of the machine. Phase 2. The uplink, locating the server. Now that the local drive is quiet, we can access the cloud. We need to establish a handshake protocol with the future self. Remember, the future self is not a dream. It is a localized energetic node that already exists. It is the server hosting the optimized file. Keep your eyes closed. Shift your attention away from your head and move it to the center of your chest. Or perhaps for you it is the center of the forehead. Scan for the signal. It feels like a magnetic pull. It feels like a tiny hook tugging you forward. It might feel like a sudden expansion, a feeling of inevitability. This is the retrocausal tether. Think of it like a fiber optic cable dropping down from the sky and plugging into the crown of your head. Do not visualize a face. Do not visualize a scene. That is imagination. We are doing engineering. Visualize a frequency. Lock onto the feeling of the version of you that has already completed the transition. Can you feel that specific vibration? It feels calm. It feels incredibly fast, yet perfectly still. That is the bandwidth of the future. Increase the gain on that signal. Make it louder. You might feel your heart rate change. You might feel a change in temperature. This is the handshake. The connection is established. The server recognizes the client. Say silently to yourself, connection secured. Phase 3. The code injection, overwriting the sectors. We are now initiating the download. The future self is pushing the data packet down through the tether into your physical vessel. This is the code injection. Imagine raw data streaming into your system. If you need a visual, see it as the green code from the Matrix. But it's not on a screen. It is raining inside your marrow. It is gold or electric blue. It enters the crown. It moves down the spine. It creates pressure. This data is rewriting your cellular biology. It is deleting the victim script. It is overwriting the scarcity driver. It is uninstalling the confusion module. You might feel resistance. You might feel a sudden urge to move or an itch or a flash of anger. That is the old operating system fighting deletion. Do not engage with the resistance. Let it burn off. Think of your body like a phone during an update. The screen goes black. The progress bar fills slowly. You cannot use the phone while it updates. You must surrender to the process. Let the feeling of the future outcome saturate you. Do not think about how you get the money, the relationship, or the health. The how is the corrupted file. Focus on the end state. The feeling of relief. The feeling of absolute power. The feeling of safety. That feeling is the code. Download it into your gut. Download it into your hands. Download it into your feet. Your body is becoming incompatible with your current reality. You are vibrating at a rate that the old world cannot touch. Feel the heaviness increase. This is data density. You are becoming more real. The past is becoming a ghost. Hold this frequency, lock it in. The fan speed is increasing. The processor is hot. You are compiling the new script, 30%, 60%, 90%. Let the energy flood every corner of your mind until there is no room left for the old you. The old you has been archived, completed. Phase 4. The reboot, running the new kernel. The installation is complete. Now we must restart the interface. Keep your eyes closed for one more moment. Understand where you are. You are not in the same room you started in. Mechanically, the walls are the same. But the observer has changed. You are now viewing this room through the lens of the future self. You are looking back at this moment from the future. This moment is a memory you are visiting. Take a deep breath. Ventilate the system. When you open your eyes, you must not look at the world. You must render the world. Open your eyes. Look at your hands. They look different. They are the tools of the architect. Look at the room. Does it look sharper, brighter, or perhaps slightly foreign? Good? That is render latency. That sense of detachment means the update worked. You are now running the new OS. Do not try to access your old emotional folders. They are empty. Do not try to run the old anxiety script. It will return an error message. Stand up. Feel gravity. Gravity is the anchor holding you in this simulation. You are live. You are online. The retrocausal loop is active. Move with the precision of a machine that knows exactly what it was built to do. The glitch is gone. The signal is clear. Welcome to the new timeline. You are no longer just the user of this reality. You have acknowledged the update. You have felt the overwrite. Now you must take your hands off the mouse and place them on the keyboard. You are becoming the system architect. Most people live their entire lives running on default settings. They let the operating system of their past dictate their reaction speeds, their emotional bandwidth, and their rendering capability. They are passive consumers of a simulation they are supposed to be directing. But you have initiated a retrocausal overwrite. This means the future you, the optimized file, is trying to run on your current hardware. If you do not actively manage this integration, your system will crash. You will experience burnout, confusion, and the blue screen of death in your nervous system. You need tools, not affirmations, not wishful thinking. You need debugging protocols. We're going to install 3 specific executables into your daily routine. These are cybernetic frameworks designed to stabilize the new timeline while the old code is being deleted. Tool number 1, the pattern interrupt, the task manager. You have background processes running right now that you are unaware of. These are daemon threads, scripts from your past that run automatically, effectively eating up your RAM. You know this feeling. You are driving to work and suddenly you are having a hypothetical argument with a partner from 3 years ago. You're in the shower and you are replaying a failure from 2015. You are sitting at your desk and a loop of anxiety regarding your finances starts spinning without your permission. This is not you. This is legacy code. It is a corrupted script playing on a loop because it is cached in your neural pathways. Most people engage with the script. They argue back, they feel the emotions, they feed the loop energy. This is a critical error. You cannot reason with a glitch. You must terminate the process. We are going to use a technique called the pattern interrupt, functioning exactly like the end task button in your computer's task manager. Here is the protocol. The moment you catch your mind spiraling into a fear loop, a judgment loop, or a memory of the past, you must physically intervene. You do not negotiate. 1. Detect the latency. Notice your mood drop. Notice the tightness in the chest. That is the fan spinning up on the CPU. The virus is running. 2. Execute the command. You must say out loud, "Stop script." 3. The somatic jolt. Snap your fingers, clap your hands, or stand up immediately. This sounds primitive. It is actually sophisticated biological hacking. The audible command, "Stop script," interrupts the firing pattern of the synapse. The physical action breaks the momentum of the neurochemistry. You are sending a sig-kill signal to the brain's default mode network. You are telling your hardware, "We are not running this program anymore. That file is corrupted. Delete." Do not be polite with your own mind. You are the administrator. If a browser tab is frozen, you force quit it. Do the same with your thoughts. Every time you use the stop script command, you free up RAM. That energy is then immediately available to render the future self. Tool number 2, the future anchor, the desktop shortcut. The second tool addresses the issue of stability. The frequency of your future self is high bandwidth. It is difficult to maintain. The old you is a low bandwidth, stable connection. It is easy to slip back into the old version because the neural pathways are like superhighways. The new version is a dirt path you are trying to pave while walking on it. You need a shortcut. In computing, a desktop shortcut is a small icon that points to a massive, complex program buried deep in the drive. You click the icon, and the program launches. You need a physical desktop shortcut for your future reality. This is based on the principle of quantum entanglement. We are going to entangle a physical object in your present reality with the energetic signature of your future timeline. The protocol: choose one physical object that you carry with you. A ring, a specific watch, a keychain, even the background wallpaper on your phone. This object is now your totem. It is no longer just metal or glass. It is a dedicated pointer variable. Every time you touch this object or look at it, you must consciously pull the feeling of the future self into the present. You do not think about the future. You pull the state of the future into the now. For example, if the future you is a leader with immense calm and authority, and the present you is feeling frantic. 1. Touch the anchor, the ring, watch. 2. Collapse the wave function. 3. Recall the simulated feeling from your meditation. 4. Override the current emotional state with the future state. This is the most effective method on us how to shift timelines without needing to sit in an hour of deep meditation. You are creating a tactile trigger. Think of it like this. Your nervous system is the hardware. The future self is the software in the cloud. The anchor is the antenna. When you touch it, you boost the signal. You are manually overriding the lag. Use this when you walk into high-pressure rooms. Use this when the old reality tries to drag you into drama. Touch the anchor. Remember who is observing the simulation. You are not the character caught in the drama. You are the player holding the controller. The anchor reminds you of the game. Tool number 3. The glitch log, error reporting. The final tool is a complete reframe of what you consider bad luck. When you are upgrading your operating system, things break. Files get misplaced. Drivers become incompatible. The screen flickers. This is not because the computer is broken. It is because the architecture is changing. In your life, as you initiate this retrocausal overwrite, you will experience friction. A client will drop you, a tire will go flat. A distinct relationship will turn cold overnight. A deal you were banking on will dissolve. The old you interprets this as failure. Why is this happening to me? I thought I was upgrading. The architect interprets